This is not a time for panic, but it is a time for vigilance. We shouldn't stop conducting our daily lives, going to schools, houses of worship, and so forth, but we should be vigilant. You often hear the expression, if you see something, say something. That's never been more true than now, and that's probably partly why the American people are reporting more tips and leads to us, and we're pursuing those threats and leads as vigorously and responsibly as we can.
That is the FBI director who testified under oath this morning. He, along with the Secretary of Homeland Security, said since the war between Israel and Hamas began, the threats against Americans specifically have increased.
In the days and weeks since, we have responded to an increase in threats against Jewish, Muslim, and Arab American communities and institutions across our country.
The reality is that the terrorism threat has been elevated throughout 2023, but the ongoing war in the Middle East has raised the threat of an attack against Americans in the United States to a whole nother level.
Now, I am not trying to scare you with this information. That is never what I do. But I do believe it is important to share with you the very real threats our federal law enforcement and intelligence agencies are testifying to under oath in front of U.S. senators, which is exactly what happened this morning for more than 3 hours, and they did not mince words. They were there to testify about the need for Congress to approve the funding the president has asked for the southern border and for all the other programs the FBI, Homeland Security, and the National Counterterrorism Center needs to do their jobs. Funding, which in lots of cases is about to expire. And allowing that to happen, according to the FBI, would be the worst case scenario, especially right now.
Al-Qaeda issued its most specific call to attack the United States in the last 5 years. ISIS urged its followers to target Jewish communities in the United States and Europe. Hezbollah has publicly expressed its support for Hamas and threatened to attack U.S. interests in the Middle East. And we've seen an increase in attacks on U.S. military bases overseas carried out by militia groups backed by Iran. Here in the United States, our most immediate concern is that violent extremists, individuals or small groups, will draw inspiration from the events in the Middle East to carry out attacks against Americans going about their daily lives.
You heard the witnesses testifying at the beginning of this video about the escalating threats to Jewish, Arab, and Muslim Americans, but by far, the FBI director says the Jewish community in this country is disproportionately being targeted.
2.4% of the American public,
Right.
60% of religious-based hate crimes. They're getting it from racially and ethnically motivated violent extremists, ISIS-inspired violent extremists, foreign terrorist organizations, whether they be Sunni like Al-Qaeda or ISIS, or Shia like Hezbollah. And so this is a group that has the outrageous distinction of being uniquely targeted, and they need our help.
The FBI director outlined all the things his agency is doing to put a stop to these types of threats, including arresting those who are threatening to harm Americans. He says that, of course, will continue, but he encourages Americans to also keep their heads on a swivel.
But across the country, in each and every one of the FBI's 56 field offices, we are addressing these threats with a sense of urgency. Among other things, that means working closely with our federal, state, and local partners through our FBI-led Joint Terrorism Task Forces to ensure that together we stay laser-focused on mitigating threats.